Saki. Last but not least, this scenario, this last scenario will demonstrate how EBSI can help on a cross-border context for personal development. It is important to remark that the same foundation can be applied for upskilling and reskilling of the workforce in the digital and green transitions. This scenario will illustrate the journey of Anna, a PhD student, and how competencies in form of micro credentials can improve Anna's career, as well as those credentials can be recognized in a cross-border context between Tampere University from Finland and Kaunas Technical Level University from Lithuania. Both universities are members of the European Consortium of Innovative Universities, One European University Alliance. Henry, the floor is yours.
Very good. Thank you so much, Louis. I hope everyone can see the screen all right. So I have a pleasure with Padmasila Kiiskilä to present the demo 6, Anna's journey towards micro-credentialing. So in our demo, we're actually connecting with 2 different CEF-funded projects that run in Tampere University in Finland, but also in Kaunas University of Technology in Lithuania. So both of these CEF-funded projects are actually looking into the benefits and potentials of EBSI in general for national different types of digital services, but we're especially interested in about this micro-credential exchange. So to build upon this exchange of digital credentials in international settings and reach different types of benefits for the learners, and in this case for PhD education. So you can find our details there, contact details on this slide, and let's go forward. I'll start with a bit of a kind of background on the context of this scenario. So both of these universities actually belong to the ECIU University, which is a European university looking into this new educational model where much of the content, so this micro-credential short learning programs, are being co-developed between different types of institutions around Europe. And in this case, in ECIU University, Kaunas University of Technology and Tampere University that you see on the right-hand side of the figure represent some of these partners. And what currently happens in ECIU is that we have 2 kinds of learning opportunities that lead to micro-credentials, and they are a bit different style than what you usually might find in universities. So we have these challenge-based learning activities that are of interest to this scenario of the final presentation, where actually student teams work hand in hand to solve some of the grand challenges of the society of today. So these ECIU challenge-based learning activities are attached with private industries, but also public partners around Europe, for example, Tampere City and similar, where the learners actually work together, they work in teams, they prototype, they come up with new kinds of solutions for societal challenges, and of course need to get recognized for their work. We also have in ECIU University these micro modules that are more aligned with this kind of a fast upskilling and reskilling to find learning opportunities that are unbundled from these partner institutions' curriculums. They are of different topics. They might relate to circular economy, to smart cities, to transport systems, and they do carry ECTS credits, and they are of course in different sizes, but in many cases they are flexible, not tied to a certain semester, and they are quite small in volume, often like 1 to 3 ECTS and so on. So in ECIU University, what our ambition really is to build upon these European best practices and also infrastructures to for the benefit of the learners, so that they can actually own their credentials from their own learning activities from their studies. So we have been really looking forward to this European Digital Credentials for Learning that has been there now, formerly known as Europass, that has been there for actually less than a year or so since the opening. And what we're looking into in ECIU University is that from these micro modules and ECIU challenges that we run between our partnership, is that the learners do get some kind of a proof of their learning outcomes, also containing competence data that they can show to a potential employer, but also utilize for the purpose of just getting their studies recognized in the universities, and that the learners do own these credentials and can store them in their wallet. And of course, this is where EBSI steps in as well. So what do we want to achieve? So we are tied to this diploma use case, and we found it extremely helpful in EBSI University to realize this kind of a cross-border implementation of Micro Credential, that we can issue and verify credentials in a transparent and transparent manner, and find out the authenticity also of these credentials. So this means that we have to also look into this new kinds of data models. How can we capture the proofs of learning in new ways, and also exchange this information between higher education institutions technically, but also making ECTS recognizable. And the value, of course, that we're looking into in this, or the value proposition, is the simplicity and reliability of this cross-border issuance and verification of digital credential, but really to realize the benefits for ANA. So realization of flexible study or learning pathways. And this brings us to Anna. So meet Anna, a PhD student from Tampere, a sample student for our scenario, who actually does have a background already working in the industry, does work in business administration related topics, but it's now switching to a new topic and also going to PhD studies, where there's a clear need for upskilling, learning new things, especially about circular economy. That is her kind of a main topic of interest. So what she's after is really this flexible learning opportunities, meaning that it might always be that the best or most relevant learning activities reside in the home university, which in this case is Tampere University. But in many cases, the short learning experiences from other universities might actually cater better for her interests and also skill gaps. But she does need the studies to be recognized. So the ECTS does play a key role here, and she wants the actual proofs of the learning outcome that she's been reaching. So how to capture the competence development. And this brings us to Anna's micro-credential journey. Though you don't have to memorize the whole scheme that you see here, but it kind of shows Anna's journey on the top, from becoming a PhD student to actually from in-house education in Tampere to getting and receiving micro-credential, but also enrolling to learning opportunities in Kaunas University of Technology, and also being recognized for that, receiving academic credits, where the second layer is kind of at the issuers of verifiable credentials. Third layer, Anna's own wallet, where she receives academic ID, the credentials from these different learning activities, and all the way to verification processes. So how these institutions can also help Anna in issuing and verifying the credentials. And very soon, Sheila will tell more about this. So the key steps of implementation on this cross-border micro-credential scenario is definitely in a way to build upon these best practices in a European approach on these digital credentials that do build on a common data model. So, and also to bring in this to in ECIU context. This is where we, of course, had to do a bit of a work to make it realizable. We collaborated with Vault ID and built on open source tools to implement EBSI for this digital credential exchange. And since we're still in a pre-production environment, we're emulating also the university academic system, so meaning the student information systems where much of the information is being retrieved from and issued from. But at the same time, we need to implement these new capabilities with EBSI for issuing and verifying at both ends, Tampere University and Kaunas University of Technology. And in our scenario, the European Quality Assurance Registry, ECAR, works as the kind of the trusted accreditation organization that is kind of just making sure that these institutions are conformant with the external quality assurance practices and helps us to onboard these trusted issuers, which in this case are Kaunas University of Technology and Tampere University. So here we actually start heading towards the actual demo, and Sheila, floor is all yours.
Thank you, Henry. In this Anna's journey of micro credentials, we'll see how she can receive a verifiable ID from the Tampere University, which is where she is doing PhD, receive a micro credential for one of the courses that she does in Tampere University, how she can share those micro credentials with the Kaunas Institute of Technology as a prerequisite. Finish a course in KTU and receive a micro credential from there and receive the credit from Tampere University. For this, we'll use her web wallet from Vault ID, Tampere University Student Management System, as well as KTU Student Management System. First, let's log into her web wallet. It doesn't have to be web wallet, but for the demo purposes, we are using Vault ID's web wallet. And the web wallet can be created with her own personal email address. It does not require Tampere University credentials. This way, she can receive credentials from any place else. So once she logs in, she can request a credential. And in this case, it will be the Tampere University Student Management System, and she is looking for a verifiable ID from the Tampere University. So now she has to log into the system using her Tampere University credentials, meaning Tampere University email address as well as password to enter into the system. And here she can claim the credential Tampere University student ID. And here the issuer checks and makes sure that the DID does belong to Anna Makara. And then she can check if it is the verifiable ID she is looking for, and in which case she can accept it. Of course, she also has the option to reject it. And once she does that, she has the verifiable ID ready in her wallet. As Henry was mentioning, in the ECI University, there are really different types of courses and challenges available. And one such is data and software services that she was interested in, which also includes a challenge from Tampere City to solve a real problem that the Tampere City is facing. So she takes the course and finishes it. And now she can go to her wallet and actually request a credential for it. And in this time, it would be a Europass credential, which is the EDCL, the new name. And when she asks for the credential, that's the module she's looking for. And she receives the credential into her web wallet. She can now check the credential. What Henry was talking about, not just the name of the module and grade, it can have a wealth of information in this Europass credential. It can have the description of the module, what are the learning outcomes, what are the learning types, what are the learning activities, what are the different skills and competences that she acquired by taking this module, which also can be as ESCO skills. Using the ESCO framework, you can give the skills and competences that she can. So she can actually know what skills and competences she achieved. And over time, she can also figure out what other skills she might want to take or learn from this for her upskilling. While looking for all of those, she realized that she needs more skills and competences in circular economy, where she's lacking, and her PhD focuses on circular economy. And in ECIU University, she finds yet another challenge focusing on that, this time offered by Kaunas Institute of Technology. And she was really interested in taking it to get the skills and competences she needs that. For that, she goes into the KTU student management system, and she can directly register using EBSI because KTU is also onboarded with EBSI. And she shares the verifiable ID from Tampere University with them, which is accepted by them. And it says, they gave her an email address, and now she has to register by giving a password. Once she registers, now she can actually log into the KTU student management system, where she will be able to see what module she's eligible to enroll. And for this, she has to use the KTU credentials. And like there are no, she hasn't enrolled any modules yet, but she can also see what available modules are enrolled. There she sees the one she really wants to enroll, and it is open, but it says the prerequisites missing. But the credential she already did with Tampere will satisfy those requirements, so she can now share the presentation, the Europass credential directly to KTU. And here they receive the credentials and it satisfies the prerequisites, and so now she is free to enroll. This makes the process so much easier, sharing it via EBSI. And now she's enrolled, and let's pretend that it's been a few months and she finished the challenge over there, which means she can go back to her KTU system and ask to be for issue a diploma, which is the micro credential for that particular challenge. And once she shares the empty presentation that is requested by the KTU system, she receives the credentials and she can check to make sure it is what it is she is expecting for the same challenge, and she can accept the credential. And now she has both the credentials and the verifiable ID in her wallet. All that is left is for her to get the Tampere University to recognize the credentials so she can use those credits. For that, she can log into her Tampere University with her Tampere University credentials, and look for verifiable. To verify the credentials, she has to register them. So in order to register that, she can present the Europass credential she got from the KTU. So to make sure that she gives the right one, check that it is the one that she has to present, and share that particular Europass credential. And although since it's a demo, we are showing what are all the checks that EBSI does, or the system does for the system for the university. And she got her credits, and now she is ready to continue. Back to you, Henry.
Thank you very much, Sheila, for presenting Anna's journey. So I hope everyone enjoyed the demo. And just as a kind of a sum up our presentation, we do, of course, see at this point when we are in a pre-production testing environment, we do see some challenges, and many of them are actually not EBSI's challenges. They are more about micro credentials in general, to scale this kind of activities and build awareness in general for what this kind of a short learning experiences could be, and how EDCL types of data models could be used to capture different types of competencies that learners are achieving in their learning activities. But we also have acknowledged in the research that Sheila has been leading that there are, of course, this EDCL data model, and there are different types of platforms already for managing digital credential. But we do see that the administrative processes in universities do not necessarily yet build on this kind of a verification and issuance process via EBSI. And of course, there we can remove a lot of manual work if we start to move to this direction. And as information systems researchers, we are highly recommending institutions to move to this path. And of course, due to the technical realization, we have to acknowledge that in this test environment, we of course couldn't still use real student data or real learning activities, but we attach with ECIU University and of course make sure that this is implementable. So EBSI capabilities are there. They cannot, of course, in all cases solve all the mysteries and problematics in educational processes, but they can, of course, make our lives much easier. So our expectation is really to build on and scale on this use scale, and that's where we need more momentum, number of pilots, but collaborators as well. So we really hope to be joining hands with you on the next steps. And while we're exploring these digital credentials, we also acknowledge that learners do seem to expect a wider range of proofs of their prior competence developed in this kind of wallets. And EBSI-conformant digital wallets and practices can really cater for this kind of expectation. And this is how we really salute EBSI for good work done. And our ambition, as mentioned, is really to expand on this use case to implement it in large cross-border scenarios, not only in ECI University, but also to welcome you new collaborators to EBSI. Work with us, also contact us for future collaborations, and let's make this a reality. Thank you so much.